Hello Arcane Odyssey goobers. In this video, I'm going to be talking about gems and why they kind of suck. So, okay, in build making in Arcane Odyssey, gems have always kind of been that thing where you kind of thought of them as an afterthought. Like after you got the main pieces of your build, you kind of put them at last, like the last thing that you would put in your build. And the main thing is that they're the hardest thing to work on in a build, like to make basically, which doesn't really make sense, because one is you have to get master jewel crafting, and to do that you need to craft 100 of the gems to basically get the max stats out of them, and that will give you 50,000 jewel crafting XP, and that will allow you to make useful, useful gems. Otherwise you'd have to let someone else craft it for you, or just you buy it from the marketplace or something. But why do you have to do all of that just for for power? Let's say it's just a 30 power increase, when majority of your power comes from your armor anyway. So or even enchants, they give way more power. So I don't get it. So, and same goes for their the only cool thing about gems is the effects that they have, like status duration or air capacity, but even that, they're kind of like a hit or miss. So for example, the only useful thing right now for gems, in my opinion, is air capacity, because it actually, if you have 100% right now, they basically give you infinite air capacity, but that is being changed to basically just doubles your air capacity in the full release update, which I can understand. It is a bit overpowered, and that makes sense. 100% air capacity plus 100% air capacity, that makes perfect sense. Sometimes though, stuff like energy regen, it doesn't make sense. What I mean by that is 100% energy regen does not mean it's double your energy regen. It doesn't mean that at all. They nerfed it, energy regen, at one point, and it just there's basically almost no difference between the two. Or does this guy want bananas? No bananas for you. My bananas. But 50%, 100% air, 100% energy regen does not mean double energy regen. It's nowhere near close to double energy regen. So what's the point of it then? So it's kind of just what's the point of the gems? Same goes for status duration. Status duration kind of sucks, and I'll get to that right now. So status duration is something that only affects magics with DOT. So stuff like fire, acid, or magma and stuff like that. Now it affects them differently, because each one has different amounts of DOT. So let's say for fire, it has 5 ticks of DOT. For plasma, it has 3 ticks. And for acid, it's 30 ticks, because it's 30 seconds, and so on and so forth. But the percentages affect them differently, because there's a lot of rounding going on, and that rounding kind of ruins it, I won't lie. For fire, if you want another tick, let's say for a fire damage tick, you only need 10%. So let's see. So if you do the math, basically the way it works is there's a rounding up. There's when you have 10% status duration, that is basically 5.5 ticks, and what the game does is it rounds it up to 6. So that's the rounding thing. It works by rounding. But basically, if you get 25%, if you do that, so that's if you do 1.25 times 5, that's equal to 6.25. that will equal to 6 ticks. It's the same if you use 10%, so that's still equal to 6 ticks. If you want to get 7 ticks from like on a fire build, you would need to get 40%, and 40% means you're going to need to use basically, I don't even know how many muscovites, but that's like, I think 4 muscovite gems to basically even get 40% status duration, which basically completely makes it useless. And this status duration thing, most of the time you would have 25%, because each gem gives only 2.5%, and when you have 10 of them, that's, 10 times 2.5, that's 25%. And that only really affects it. It's like only really worthwhile on something like acid, which is like 30 ticks. So like that 25% will affect it fully. So 25% of acid, like 1.25 into 30, acid will get 8 more ticks of damage from it. So, and even with 10%, if you do 10% of the acid will get 3 more ticks of damage. So you like, it's basically way more like, useful on stuff with longer DOT. It's completely useless on stuff like fire and plasma. Plasma is even worse. You need basically 17.5% at least on stuff like thermofist, which is 3 ticks, or plasma, which is 3 ticks as well. You need at least 17.5% to get 1 more tick. And don't even ask on how much you need for like another tick. You need like 50 or 60% or something. Makes it that's literally impossible, because we only have like, at max we only have like 14 jewel slots, so like there's no point in that. And the same goes for potency jewels. Potency jewels only really affect, and the other thing is that saturation jewels are really, really expensive. They take poison tooth to craft. These things are impossible to find anywhere. You can't find them in the marketplace. You have to like every person has like only 1 or 2 of them at a time, and you need, like, if you want to get 25%, you need 50 of them. So like, is it worth it for the amount of work you have to do for it to get it? Not even close. Same goes for the gems. Is it worth it to get just like a slight increase in stats? No, not at all. It's more worth it to fish for sunken, like by sitting down for like an hour and fishing for sunken. It's more worthwhile to do that than to try and use these gems. Like, I genuinely don't get it. And same goes for like, no, not same goes. Even modifiers are more like, people look at modifiers. They give modifiers more of an importance than gems, because they give like worthwhile stats, even though it's like what 20 stats here. It's still more than what gems can give. And also I know that they did change like the rare tier gems to give like 10 stats. That's, I think, is a really cool thing, but not for power gems. Power gems they just give 3, and defense gems they only give 31. But like, I guess that they did that for a balancing reason. But since there is a PvP toggle next in full release, maybe they can change that. I don't know. I just think that jewels are just not worthwhile right now, considering the amount of work you have to do for them. And also the reagents. The reagents are cool, but they definitely should be buffed. Like, they don't drastically change the thing as well. Now, you may be asking, what do I want from these gems then? Like, what am I looking for in these gems? Maybe they can have some cool interactions with like armor builds. So like, let's say there can be something like a gem that it increases the stats of your armor by 10%. So you can have 2 of them. So let's say you can see here, discharge sunken boots. They have 8 power, 200 defense, 23 size, and 19 intensity. What one jewel can do is just like the muscovite gems. I think the muscovite gems are by far the coolest gems, but like they don't get used much because like the status effects kind of suck, is that it can deal with percentages, or like, you know, do something with like special interactions, such as like it can increase the armor stats by 5% or 10%. So like instead of giving its own stats, it just increases the stats of the armor set itself. Or it can do something like weapons deal more damage, or like, you know, some special interactions that make them more unique, or more like, you know, make them more sought after, rather than just being something that is like, you think of it as like the last few stats of a build. Like for example, in this build, I'm only using 8 gems, and those 8 gems are contributing to what? That's 10, 20, 40 size. It's 40 size, and then the rest is 31 times what? 8. 31 times 8. That's like 250 defense. I guess that's a sizable amount, but I feel like they shouldn't give stats. That's what I feel like. I feel like gems shouldn't give stats. They should give some special interaction, and armor sets should be the ones to give stats, and the gems should be more focused on stuff like, you know, status durations, or, you know, other types of interactions. Maybe something like fish speed, like fishing reel. You can make like a fishing build, just some special interaction like that. I think that would be cool. It should be, I feel like gems should be focused more on like you know, special status interactions, and not just stats. Like the new gems, actually I really like them because of the new stats they add: regeneration, the armor piercing, the what do you call it, and resistance jewels. I think they're great. Like they actually make perfect sense, because those stats are really rare to find in armor sets. So the jewels are the main ways to get that stat, and same goes for Pain Knight. Pain Knight is, I think, also one of those jewels which it's like, you know, it has drawbacks, so there are consequences to using it, but it is worthwhile to use it. Like, you know, you get a lot of defense, but at the cost of losing a lot of HP as well. So stuff like that, it makes perfect sense. And attack destruction is also one of those interesting things where like it doesn't say that, but say something that's really important. This increases your clash rate. I think that should be more prioritized than just, you know, showing increases the destructive power of your attacks when socketed to an item. No one cares about destruction really. Like it just lags the game out right now. I don't know. I just feel like gems should be more worthwhile to work upon, like for a person to, like, you know, work on them more and like make them worthwhile to be worked on. I'm kind of just saying the same thing again and again, but you guys get my point. And like something like attack knockback, this makes perfect sense. This is actually a really cool thing, but it's really little. Like this can mess up in PvP. This can mess up your, not in PvP, but just in battle in general. This can mess up everyone's aim, even an NPC's aim. It can mess that up completely. So I feel like they should be more prioritized than just stats alone. And potency boost is just, it only affects potions and auras, and that's about it. I feel like it should also maybe affect the damage of stuff like DOT or something. Like, because that's what intensity did before. So intensity before, it used to, 1, increase the amount of just DOT, like ticks, and 2, it also increased the damage of them. And that kind of got replaced by cooldown, which is great. I won't lie, it is great. But maybe intensity should have its name changed, because it doesn't really, like, intensity decreases cooldown duration. It doesn't really make sense anymore, because all the stuff have, like, they literally tell you what they do. So attack size, attack speed, agility, they all make sense. Intensity is kind of doesn't make sense anymore as a name. Maybe it can be changed, I don't know, but that's just my opinion of it. And I feel like you know, we, like, for intensity, that damage, like, increase for DOT builds, it got taken away completely. So like now they just, you know, status iteration is kind of just like, it's just a band-aid solution for it. If they could add like rounding or something, or like, you know, maybe make it so like, I mean, I know that they are making DOT stuff like decimal, so in that way maybe they can make it so like the remainder that stays with the status iterations, maybe that can be added as damage, or even potency can, like, you know, add a better percentage of damage to it. I don't know, I think that would be cool. But I just think that gems can be better in Arcane Odyssey, and they have a chance to, you know, revamp them for full release. I know that they already changed, you know, the crafting of it, so you can now craft like bulk gems, which is really cool. But I feel like they're kind of just like, you know, they're always an afterthought in a build when you work towards it, and they're always the last thing that you would build in a build anyway. So I feel like they should be changed. But that's it for my rant for this week.